Welcome back, everybody, to another episode here at Bulletproof Selling. I'm Sean Rhodes, the Chief Sales Sergeant of Bulletproof Selling and author of the book Bulletproof Selling, a guide for systemizing sales on the battlefield of business. Now, here at Bulletproof Selling, we are all about one mission, and that is that hope is not a sales strategy. And so we are here every week, often multiple times a week, to help increase the performance of salespeople, their pipelines, and their teams. Now, if you've been with us for a little while, this Bulletproof Selling series, we're going past 50 episodes at this point, which is 50 interviews from some of the top minds in the world as it applies to the field of sales. We've been able to bring on Hall of Fame speakers, best-selling authors, trainers, consultants, and those that are actually out there in the field right now actively managing their sales teams. And so my commitment to you in every single one of these episodes we've been able to deliver on it is to build a sales system that you can use, begin to implement across your pipelines, across your prospects, and across your leads, and of course, your customers, to help you increase the conversion rates that you have there, to make sure that you are no longer relying on hope in any aspect of your sales systems. Now, it's my pleasure uniquely often to be able to find sales leaders that are actively managing successful sales teams. And I've actually got one of those folks that we're going to be bringing on the show today. His name is Jerry Martin, and he is the Chief Revenue Officer, the Chief VP of Sales. The chief guy that's responsible for managing his company's sales systems at Prudential Overall Supply. Now, while they're based on the West Coast, they've got offices all over the country, so they're used to dealing in different markets, a variety of very complex sales where they have to engage a lot of decision makers to get their deals done. And the reason that I really wanted to bring Jerry on the show today is that he and his company, because I've been able to speak to a bunch of their salespeople as well, are all about their sales systems. When you think about some companies, when you talk about, hey, we really need to get you guys into a CRM, and there's a bunch of eye rolling. Not in this company. All right. These folks know the value of a CRM. They know the value of campaigns, and they know the value of sales systems, which is why I'm really excited, wherever the conversation is going to take us today, to introduce Mr. Jerry Martin to the show. Jerry, welcome on, sir.
Thanks, Sean. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Jerry. Now, for the folks that haven't gotten to read your bio, talk to us a little bit about kind of your experience coming up in sales and a little bit about the team that you manage and the company that you manage it for.
Yeah, I've been with Prudential Overall Supply. It's a family-owned and operated business, third generation, and we started way back in 1932. So
Wow.
they've been through a world war, multiple recessions, and you name it. Now with the pandemic and everything that we're all dealing with,
Yeah.
it's kind of the latest thing. But very successful business. Debt-free company, and we're all about growth here at Prudential. So I will be celebrating 30 years with the company this coming
Wow.
April, which is amazing. When I started out as a sales trainee right out of college, I had no idea, where it would lead me, and it's just been really a nice success story to be with the company for that many years, see the growth. We were in 2 states, when I started with the company, and now we've got locations all across the country. As you mentioned, we even do some business in Puerto Rico. We're able to service into Canada and into Mexico as well too. But yeah, we're based here in SoCal, in Irvine. So we're a mid-level market company, and looking to continue to expand. Really, the marketplace has consolidated quite a bit over the last 15 years. We're now the 4th largest industrial launderer in the United States. And it hasn't just because it happened because of our growth. It's also been just because of there's been many other companies acquired within our space. So we basically compete against 3 primary publicly traded companies, and we really try to differentiate ourselves by having that family business type of values. We're really we live by the golden rule here at Prudential. Basically do as you say as you do, and then meet your commitment. So for us, integrity is a big part of it. And ultimately the differentiator, whether it be the sales team, as far as their marching orders out week in and week out, or our customer relationships, it's all about keeping our promises. to ourselves, and then ultimately to our customers. So yeah, it's pretty neat, and we're old school. You can see, I'm wearing a tie, and that's how we roll. I did watch a couple of your other interviews. You guys were pretty casual.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I was watching them, I was pretty casual too. But I'm in the office today, so we're geared up and ready to go.
Talk to me about the amount of salespeople that you've got spread out all over the country.
Well, our primary sales organization is approximately 70 salespeople. They're outside reps. They are hunters.
Hmm.
And so the goal basically is to bring 1 to 2 new customers on board per salesperson per week.
Yeah.
We have some other specialized salespeople within our clean room division. That's a high tech division for companies manufactured in controlled environments.
Hmm.
They're more of a national accounts type of team. We don't have as many contracts flowing through on a weekly basis, but they're also the same model. We're out there trying to bring in new customers. When the sales team brings in the new clients, then ultimately it's the responsibility of the operations team to maintain those relationships and to continue on with the customer service and everything else that goes with that. With the sales team, we have a sales management team. Typically, each district has about 6 salespeople per sales district, 6 to 8, depending upon what we're doing within that district. If it's a newer one, right, we're going to go a little bit lighter because we're building out our sales reach within those markets. But that's about the scope of it. And then we have marketing support that ultimately I'm responsible for. But we do a lot of outsourcing as well too within our marketing enterprise. But that's about the scope of the organization. Prudential
Okay.
overall has approximately 2,000 employees.
Nice. And so, with those folks that you specifically refer to as hunters,
Hmm.
I'm interested to hear more about that. So, I know you've had the opportunity across your sales career to see people who were hunters and then those who were farmers, and maybe
Hmm.
those that were a hybrid of the two. So,
Hmm.
what do you notice really makes a hunter successful? And I'm sure you've seen a lot of salespeople start in your organization and not go very far because sales does have turnover. It's just like any other company or any
Hmm.
other type of career path. What makes a hunter unique? What type of mindset do they have that gets them up every day and gets them out there in the field hunting rather than just sitting there waiting for the emails
Yeah.
to come in and the phone calls?
Well, these are people of action, right?
Mm,
They love the chase. They love ultimately the pleasure as far as getting that contract agreed to and signed off on
yeah.
between them and the client. And I think of myself years back when I first started with the company and got that first agreement my first week in the field, and it was like, wow, man, this really can happen. I
Yeah.
was able to accomplish something this week, and it added to the overall revenue of the company, right? And
Hmm.
I was just trying to, get it done the best I could and not screw anything up. But our sales professional that have been with Prudential, some of them over a decade in this role, for them, it's just all about grinding out week in, week out, doing the right things this week that are ultimately going to lead to sales in 6 to 8 weeks down the road. And these people that are like our President's Club members that are 20% over their annual goal. In order to achieve that, many of them have made this multiple times, throughout their
Hmm.
career. And the common denominator with them is that they really have grit. And that's what I look for in salespeople that we're considering bringing on into the Prudential world. That there's consistency that you look for with these individuals. There's a commitment to themselves first, and then to obviously their careers, and they don't want to lose,
Yeah.
and they're very competitive. We close about 40% of our business at Prudential as a sales organization. So we pitch 10 deals, we'll bring
Yeah.
4 through, and that's kind of been just what it's been for many years. We measure everything here,
Hmm.
to try to figure out areas that we can just tweak it just a little bit to improve. And if you pick up a couple of points here or there, it can really make or break your year. The people that the longtime folks within the sales organization, they're closing at a rate around 50%.
Mm.
And so just picking up those 10 points and doing all the other things the right way, that's how they end up hitting their sales plan. The
You
other
you
thing
mentioned
that,
a couple of things that like each of them is a point that I want to dive into, and so I've got to really pick mine carefully because we only have a
okay.
certain amount of time here. But in all of the years that you've been in sales now, and the companies that you've acquired, and of course the interaction you've had with your three publicly traded competitors, if you think about all of those salespeople through the course of a sales career, look back on all of them now, Jerry. Where do you see salespeople rely on hope a little more than they should? And it could be something that you've seen recently that's really top of mind, or something that's just been the same for these many decades that you've been in sales. Where do
Yeah.
you see folks really leaning on hope, hoping that things come through, especially for hunters? I'd love to hear your answer on that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty short-lived if you're just hoping, right, to get the sale.
Yeah.
Typically, those folks that are just completely relying on hope. Now, you got to have hope, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to win every deal. You want to win 100% of the deals.
Sure.
That doesn't necessarily always happen every week and month and year, but yeah, I think if you're winging it in life,
Mm.
and then you bring that into the sales arena and you're winging it, you can be successful sometimes,
Hmm.
but it's not going to be necessarily repeatable. So typically within the first year, right, there's a lot that happens.
Hmm.
And I think the salespeople that maybe came from a background where hope was the modus operandus, right? I think they're probably going to wash out,
Yeah.
and just because they don't have a repeatable process. So I mean, I guess that's my thought on it.
I love the idea of the repeatable process. This is something that we harp on all the time here at Bulletproof Selling. We
Mhm.
find that it kept the troops alive in the field, and it keeps salespeople alive out there in the world of business as well, on the battlefield of
Mhm.
business. So I'd love the idea of digging in a little bit to the folks that are new to the world of sales, because you've been around long enough. You've seen a lot of folks come and go, and you've seen the folks that came and stuck around. They had a couple of traits. You mentioned grit. That's a great one. I love that one in sales. We definitely saw that all over the world in these teams that were asked to accomplish the impossible and still had to go into the buildings in dangerous environments and make it happen. And
Mhm.
then, thankfully, none of your salespeople are walking into that type of
No.
situation. But it's stressful. There's a lot of anxiety. There's tension. There's a lot of moving pieces in every sale, I know. So,
Mhm.
talk to me a little bit about the grit that you look for in that new salesperson. Obviously, they don't have the sales to produce to be able to say, here are the things that prove I have grit. But there are a lot of
Mhm.
leading indicators of grit in the world of sales for those folks that are looking for processes and using them as quick as they can find them. In a new salesperson, what do you see as some clear indicators this person's got what it takes to succeed?
Yeah, working their way through school. Say that,
Mm.
they're a college graduate. They put in the time. Maybe they went to school at night.
Hmm.
They got everything in place where they were able to pay for their education or the room and board, and they graduated, within their class. And of course, just things like that are indicators of stepping up and meeting a challenge in life.
Mm.
And then we can take a look at their work history. Has it been consistent? Have they been bouncing around? Have they increased their responsibilities within their roles?
Mm.
Do they have a background, say, in athletics or clubs or something like that, where
Something competitive, yeah.
they're in some sort of competitive leadership position? So yeah, I think that is sales, right? You're stepping up and you're meeting a challenge every time that you're faced with it. Sometimes it's just a natural fit between your company or product line and your prospective customers'
Hmm.
needs, and you just fill it and it goes quick, and everyone's happy, and we move on to the next project. But sometimes it's more complex. You have to really dig in, unravel kind of what they're doing right now. and build around the value proposition where, hey, you know what? I really do need to move over to this company because my business is going to be better for it. And so we look for people that are able to meet those requirements.
And so let's say I'm one of your new salespeople and I'm 6 months in. There's a lot to learn in any field of sales, and I know you're dealing with a complex environment. You've got multiple decision makers. A lot of your salespeople have to be out there knocking on doors, ringing on phones to drive those meetings. You mentioned, a couple new people in the pipeline every single week.
Mm-hmm.
That's aggressive. All right, a lot of salespeople would love to say that just maybe one a month would be great, but no, you're holding your people to a higher goal. So if I'm 6 months in, you've just hired me. What are the things you're looking for from me as a new salesperson that are clear indicators that I might have a future with your company? What am I doing or not doing for that matter?
Yeah, I think, well, we want to make sure that you're managing your territory, right? So ultimately, you're building your pipeline. We're getting the contract dates from our prospective clients. We know when those are. You'll work in the system. You're getting your standards of performance requirements done week in and week out. You're making your phone calls. You're making your emails. You're making your field visits, your service surveys. And then we kind of look, as far as what the weekly activity is, what that calendar looks like. All of those things, if they're indicating that you're positioning yourself for the type of activity that leads to sales, then you're on the right path. The 6-month mark for us is a milestone as well, because right around that time, we're graduating people from their probationary training, and then they're going into a full sales quota territory and that type of thing. And really, that's when things really should start to roll. That you've developed enough work on the front end, you're working your CRM, that you're positioned to make the types of sales and calls that ultimately are going to meet your sales plan and make you the income, right? That we're hopeful for you, because that's at Prudential. We want to make sure that our people are well compensated. The ones that max out that compensation plan ability there to earn.
And let's talk a little bit about opening a new territory, because that's something that could be geographic or it could be with a new product line. I know if your company developed the capability to launder things in a new way or for a new type of client, you'd be the first people to jump on it. But that would be essentially opening a new territory, even if it was a national territory and you only had one account executive covering the whole thing. So new territory can mean a couple of different things. For the salespeople you've seen throughout the years, where do you see salespeople relying on hope in opening a new territory?
Yeah, well, new territories for us, many times we go into a market, we do a data buy for the types of industries that we're looking for, and then we start working the system at that point, right? So start making the dials, and our marketing team is obviously doing some things as far as some incentives, and we typically have a campaign that happens around those new market openings that we've refined over the years. If we then made a wrong decision and hired somebody that was just relying on hope and didn't want to work our system, then we'd have to get them back on track here, pretty quick. The newer territories certainly are more challenging those first year, just because the market is not as familiar with us, right? We don't have all those references within the local community that we can draw from in the markets that we're more established in. And so those are a couple of things that we do in the new markets.
Love it. So let's build a system around this, because I think the idea of opening a new territory could apply to a senior salesperson or a junior salesperson, both the same. And like I mentioned before, it could be a geography. We've never been in the Pacific Northwest before, let's say. We need to open up that territory. Great. That's geographically based. Or it could be national. We got this new technology. It's proprietary. We could service a lot of people that just don't know we exist. That's a new territory as well. So when we talk about sales systems, and you mentioned Work the System a couple of times, that's the title of a great book, but it also is exactly what we do here at Bulletproof Selling. We work systems. So we got to create the systems first. So when we talk about that, we're trimming hope away from a sales strategy. We use the acronym TRIM, T-R-I-M. Now, if we're talking about opening a new territory, the trigger event for that Should that happen for a salesperson? This is that repeatable process that a senior salesperson or a junior one can use in opening that new territory. Should that trigger event happen when they get the notice, we need you to open up this territory or open up this new product line? Or should that trigger event happen beforehand with an understanding of what it is they're selling and who they're selling it to? Where would you recommend a salesperson start in this?
It should happen beforehand. Yeah. So if we're going to open up a new territory, whether say it's a national account territory, well, there's a need. We can be competitive in that space. And here are the target industries, target clients that we're looking to gain as customers ultimately. And so there needs to be some research done around that as far as identify what that database is going to look like for that new salesperson. Typically, if we're going to entrust them, say on a national account basis, then they've proven themselves to us already, whether it be within our organization, and we do like to promote from within when we can, or we reach outside that we, have some parallels there as far as the industry that they're coming from, and then they're equipped to be able to speak to that audience, speak to that market, and then ultimately, make some things happen within that role.
I love it. So start before you even begin your outreach. You got to understand what you're selling, who you're selling it to, what that market looks like. Obviously, if you can do a data buy, as you mentioned, or you just start looking through the through the Google pages or the phone book. I know we're both old enough to remember days of prospecting when it looked like that, to be able to build that initial prospect list. Well, now we're into the R of trim, which is making this thing repeatable. So what is maybe 5 steps? And I know there's going to be, we could map this out to be 80 steps long if we wanted to. So let's do just the 5 big strategic steps. What would you recommend a new salesperson do in a specific order every time when opening a new territory?
Develop the territory from a standpoint of finding out when the sales cycle is for those specific clients, right? And we work on a contractual basis with our customers. So some of these agreements may be 6 years, 7 years out.
You got to wait for the current one to expire.
That's right. So it's really developing that pipeline and then working your activities to get you in front of the right people at the right time. And for us, that's key. And so that's why it takes out the hope component, right? To your point, because if you're having a database, 5,000, businesses say, and there's going to be a percentage of those that don't use the services that our industry provides. We call those non-programmers. And that could be 40-50% of your overall opportunity. So in those cases, the sales cycle can be much shorter. And you then qualify, hey, are you interested in these types of services? Are you ready for something like this? Here's what it can do for your company's image and efficiencies and so on and so forth. So you have to then have a balance between the established market and the developing market within the territory, because then with the non-programmers, you're going to be able to be quicker in those within new market openings. And then with the established market, it's really just about then, okay, what's the timeline? And then where do we pick up the process based on where we are within that sales timeline? And that's all part of the sales funnel. And then ultimately it works its way through and then you're weekly in a position to be able to make a certain amount of proposals based on your close efficiency. Then you're going to net that many sales on a weekly basis or monthly or however it's measured within any sales organization. But that's how we make the numbers work for us.
I love the idea of actually shuttling people out of a pipeline. For a lot of sales managers, they see a pipeline attrition and they start to freak out. But if you're getting non-buyers, non-programmers out of your pipeline, like these folks, we just disqualified them, right? They're not of the right size. They don't have any growth. It's a mom and pop shop. We only sell to enterprise. A lot of reasons if pipeline leaves that it could be a good thing. So I love the fact that you're looking at that honestly and saying, if you guys just continue to trim that pipeline down to you only have maybe 1,000 qualified buyers, that's enough to keep a salesperson pretty busy. I can attest to that from personal experience. 1,000 people to reach out to. 40-hour weeks done, right? Easily, maybe more. So we've got the repeatable part of this done. Now I want to move into the improvable part. So if you've got your steps laid out, you're executing, Well, as we both know, the way that we sold back in 2018 or 2019 may not get us the same results that we're after today. So we've got to improve and update and iterate these systems to keep them current with the market space that we're in. And so I know one way that your folks have told me already that they make sure they improve what they're doing is ask the people that are senior on the team, for in this instance, I'm opening up a new territory. What are your top 3 pieces of advice? What do you recommend that we do first, second, third? And in that way, you can begin to improve what you're already doing, maybe with an insight you hadn't thought of before. From your perspective, how would you recommend your salespeople improve the way that they go about opening a new territory? Is to assess every 6 months or 18 months after you've implemented, the Pacific Northwest opening? How would you recommend your folks improve this so that the next time they open a new territory, it's even better?
Well, first of all, you measure it, right? You measure the results of what you
That's
did.
the M in trim. So I want to save the measurement bit because
Okay.
that's critical. That's why it's got its own letter. Absolutely. So aside from measuring, what
Yeah.
would you recommend your folks be doing?
Yeah. I think you said it. You're always learning, right? You're never settling for, hey, this is the way that we've always done it, so this is the way that's always going to work. If it is working for you and we are hitting our results, then what are the little tweaks on a weekly basis that we can do? They're going to net better overall results. So can I make a few more dials? Can I have a few more reach out campaigns, through email? Can I make some more field visits? How can I leverage this a buying group, or how can I leverage an industry where we've been successful within that market opening, and use referrals and trade show events or whatever it might be to try to continue to capitalize, within that space. But I think it's really about looking around, seeing what worked, and then really trying to capitalize on that and repeat it again.
Love it. Love it. Great way to improve. And so we've moved through the T, the R, and the I, and now we're in the M part, which I can tell you're excited about. Measuring is one of my favorite things as well. The sexiest thing for me in a CRM is the ability to immediately measure, which I can't do if I'm just looking at a spreadsheet. So talk to me about measuring. How would you measure the effectiveness of a sales system that was specific to opening a new territory? What metrics would you be looking for?
Well, I mean, we look at pipeline, we look at conversion rates, we look at close percentages, we look at our different standards related to our weekly SOPs. We look at our overall activity, really, and we want to make sure that that activity is netting appointments for proposals that ultimately then get converted into sales.
And you mentioned I believe the same things that your folks are tracking through an established territory. And it's absolutely fine if it's the same for a new opportunity or an established territory. That would be a pretty brilliant process, actually, to not mess with success. But are your folks, or would you encourage them to track anything differently for a new territory or a new opportunity in an area that they're opening up?
We actually apply our process to new market openings. I mean,
Same process. Okay.
it really is. And other than, we do attack it at the beginning with a bigger team.
Okay.
So we can get, the net out there around that territory, because we haven't had the luxury, right, of having been there for a period of time. But yeah, no, we pretty much apply our process as we have across the country, locate market by market. Now there's more marketing, that happens at the front end of these openings to give some incentives to businesses to consider us as their provider. And so that's something that we do differently on the front end than what we would normally do in an established territory based on the marketing efforts that we're doing. So, but yeah, I think the first thing that we're looking to do is get people that buy into our system, and so they can then start executing our playbook, right from the beginning. And that's how we do it. I guess it's nothing fancy, but it's how we get things done.
And it's amazing that you have a playbook, you have systems, you encourage your people to work the system. I mean, all the folks that I get to speak to across the world of sales, that's what salespeople are looking for. So I know that Prudential Overall Supply is going to be definitely able to still compete with your publicly traded competitors because of these processes and system that you have in place. So for those salespeople interested in learning more about what you're doing, because maybe they want to go work for you, or for
Mhm.
companies interested in connecting with you, or just, hey, Jerry's a smart guy, I want to make sure I'm in his network. How do people get in touch with you? How do people find out more about Prudential Overall Supply?
PrudentialUniforms.com is our website. You can learn all sorts of different fun things about the company. We're pretty active on LinkedIn as well too, and also have a Facebook presence. And as you can imagine, right, all the social channels, just like the Bulletproof family over there.
Right.
Yeah, we're always looking for good people. I think that's an easy way to say it. And really, when people come into the organization. Typically, if they make it through that first year, like most sales jobs, if you fit into the culture and help drive the culture, if you will, then those are the types of people that we're looking for.
Amazing. Absolutely love it. And of course, the culture that you've built is one of using a playbook. And that's something that immediately I know you and I connected on. And so if you're a salesperson interested in that, or maybe you have a need for the services that Jerry was talking about. Like, I want to work with people that actually care enough about their salespeople to prepare them for success and to make sure that the experience that I have is better than the one that somebody had 5 or 10 years ago, because that playbook gets updated, which means customer service and delivery is going to improve as well. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for helping us build out that system, Jerry. First time we've ever attacked building a new territory in a systemized way. And so, of course, for those of you out there following Bulletproof Selling, it's your first time, it's your 57th time. Make sure you're following us as well on LinkedIn and YouTube, where all of these live stream conversations are housed. And of course, the podcast that we produce out of this, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere that podcasts can be found. And for more sales systems to help you replace hope with certainty in your pipeline, check out the free resources that are constantly being updated each and every week over at bulletproof-selling.com. Well, Sean Rhodes here. It's been a pleasure serving the sales community alongside you, Jerry Martin. Let's get out there and make selling bulletproof.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the opportunity.